Hi, I'm Tony Wilbert with CoStar News. I'm here with Stéphanie Bensimon. She's the head of real estate at Ardian Real Estate. And Jean-Baptiste Favier, he's with our sister publication, Business Immo. And we're going to talk with Stéphanie about fundraising first. So you have a new fund called European Fund 3. What is the status of that?
Look, we've been historically investing in Europe in 4 countries, which is still the case today in terms of strategies. And we've been, recently launched a new fund and raising fund, and also start to invest that in this new cycle. So it's quite interesting right now, given all the constraints, given the market cycle, but we feel that there is a very good momentum of what type of opportunities we can find and how we can extend also the strategy.
And speaking of the strategy, has it shifted given the current real estate market?
Look, we've been always positioning on 2 things. First was transforming assets to best in class. So we've done it a lot in the office sector, which worked quite well, and still, because we are still achieving very good returns in terms of rents, leasing, and the quality of the asset. And we've been also positioning on how we can deliver assets with the best ESG criteria in terms of low carbon emission, and how we can work around the obsolescence. And this is still something that we want to apply to other sectors as well. So what we're doing right now is really adapting to the market cycle, which is really, we understand that offices is still interesting, very niche in centers of the cities with very good services. But we found that, for example, in residential, in build to rent, student housing, those type of sectors also need lack of supply and good supply as well. So this is also why we are tackling these sectors as well. And recently, we also bought a company called CoStar, that is the French leader in terms of marketplace for self-storage, because we found the self-storage sector is right now still very granular in Europe, continental Europe, and has a lot to do in terms of how you can consolidate the sector, how you can improve the supply, etc. So.
That was exactly my question.
Okay.
You started diversification over in residential, over in France.
Yes.
More particularly with residential and self-storage.
Yeah.
What led you down this road?
Look, it's just a question of supply and demand, because obviously there is a trend that is more related to demographics and not necessarily to where the cycle is, and it's more like structural, where people just need to store things. So we've seen in the US, in the UK, an extraordinary consolidation of the sectors. And when you look at Europe, it's still very much missing. People sometimes still are not aware of that exist. And so we see a great potential, because in terms of value creation, how you can consolidate the sectors, how you can apply synergies as well is very interesting. And so also in terms of how we can convert assets into this type of sector is very interesting, given the current environment. And you can also apply all the ESG recipe in terms of you don't need air conditioning. Yeah, it's a very digitalized approach in the way we are doing it. Because it's the way CoStar is doing it. Everything is online, and you can really come in and have the store that you need. We think the sectors is going to grow over the next few years in the different countries. France is the first country where we had this opportunity to invest, but obviously we're looking also in other countries like Spain or Italy, where we think also there is a very lack of supply and a great demand for this type of assets.
All right, and back to office. When we were speaking earlier, you said you still believe in office in Europe. Why is that?
Look, I feel in Europe the trends are very different, because first, most of the city centers lack of good offices. So, of course, we are living a big crisis in the office sector, especially because there is a lot of offices that doesn't fit in terms of location and in terms of quality of the space. But we feel like, especially after COVID, most of the company had to rethink their occupation, how they want to occupy, how they want to attract their talents. And we've been discussing a lot, debating on whether people should go back or not. And when you look at the numbers today, now that we have more distance, we see that people most of the time are back to the office in Europe, which is not necessarily the case everywhere. If you look at the US, how the city works, where people live versus where they work, and how the dynamic of the city has changed over the last few years. In Europe, it's very different. We feel that there's still a lack of good offices. Of course, it's niche. Most of the institutional also wants to invest more in alternatives. So going forward, it's true that the market of offices, we see that it will reduce in terms of volume and what the core market wants to have as exposure. But still, there is still a lot of obsolescence because of the regulation that we have in Europe. That is actually that constrains the market, but it's also an accelerator of how the quality has to adapt and how we need to upgrade our offices.
And I saw on your LinkedIn profile that you recently sold a building in Center City, Rome,
Yes.
Deloitte's headquarters. What kind of investment did that turn out to be for you?
Well, it actually was a great investment because this is an investment we did in 2017, I think. So we really had one of the first deal we did in Italy. It was a portfolio. It's an amazing asset because it's really, in terms of location, is like super great. And then what we like, and we've done a lot in Italy, sometimes in France as well, in Paris, is that it's very historic, and we were able to completely convert that into very modern, but still keeping the history of the building. And we've been having a lot of success in terms of leasing because it was like the biggest transaction with Deloitte, their headquarters. And we sold it. We sold it last year actually, and we closed it now because obviously there was all the deliveries and everything. But we're very happy about this investment, and also it's a great asset. It's probably the biggest transaction as well in terms of volume for the Rome market. But we feel Rome has very interesting trends as well in terms of how the city has moved. In terms of obsolescence as well. So we found that although we are investing a lot in Milan, Rome is also a place where we had great success and we like to invest.
Okay, one last question for me
Yes.
would be about diversification in Europe. What will be your roadmap and how do you feel about the market over there?
Look, the market is, of course, we are in the middle of the crisis. So there are still things that will happen in terms of valuation, how the price adjustment are going on. But for a value player like us, it's quite unique in terms of how you can accelerate the investment, especially when we are very ESG focused in the way we are transforming assets. And for me, it's a very good opportunity right now to buy assets, to deploy a big program of CapEx, to upgrade residential as well, which needs it, and there is a big lack of supply in Europe, generally speaking. So I found that it's a period where you need to be very creative, very imaginative, but still I'm quite optimistic in terms of how the market should go back at some point this year, and with a lot of opportunity, especially in the area of value add. I feel that the core market is still very much low and will not come back. Yeah, has still to correct, has still to attract, all the pension fund and insurance company to buy within, still needs some time, I think.
All right, one last question from me about the U.S.
Yes.
Is your company looking to invest in the United States?
Look, as a company, Ardian is managing 160 billion, and we do have big business in the US, especially in secondaries, in infrastructure. And obviously, real estate will be a natural expansion for us at some point. We've been starting real estate in Europe 8 years ago now. And of course, we are looking to expand in the US also because we have a strong base of US investors as a group. And so this is definitely a place where we are monitoring, we are looking to expand, and hopefully at some point get a presence over there to be like more global on the real estate side. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much,
Thank
Stephanie.
you. Thank you.